Hello, everyone. Welcome. We'll get started at the top of the hour. So go ahead and grab your lunch or grab your tea or whatever in your notepad, and we'll get started in just 30 seconds. We're going to wait for everyone to join. Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? I still see a lot of you joining, but I think we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar on SQF training requirements. I am Christy Grozwinski, a technical director here at SQFI, and I am here today with Harmeet Kaur, Director of Training and Consulting with Kiwa ASI. Over the next hour, we're going to dive deep into building effective site-wide training programs that not only meet SQF requirements, but actually work in real-world food manufacturing environments. Whether you're a line operator, supervisor, quality manager, or senior leader, this session is designed to give you practical tools and strategies you can implement right away. Before we begin, we're going to make this interactive, and we'll have a couple of discussion questions and polls along the way. So as well, be sure to use the chat. And at the end, Harmeet will address those questions, but go ahead and chat them in along the way. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Next slide. Please take a moment to review the antitrust statement provided to you here on the screen. Conversations, even though they may be in chat, regarding price fixing, boycotting, trade restrictions, or other violations of antitrust law are to be avoided. And if you see that the conversation is heading in that direction, or if Harmeet or I notice that, we'll speak up, and you please do the same. So without further ado, next slide. Let me hand it over to today's presenter, Harmeet Kaur. Take it away.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, SQF, for this opportunity. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you guys are joining us from. I'm Harmeet Kaur. I'm Director of Training and Consulting with Kiwa ASI. I've been in industry for about more than 18 years, and I am really excited for this session with you guys. A little bit about Kiwa ASI. ASI now is Kiwa ASI. We offer a full suite of safety and quality solutions to support your organization's efforts to maintain and only the highest product safety and quality standard. ASI became part of Kiwa, which is an international TIC company, in 2023. And as of this week, we are actually officially rebranded to become Kiwa ASI. So even though we have a new name, new logo, our dedication to our customer service remains the same. We still stand behind our slogan, which we make certification easy. And with us, with training and consulting department, we also say we make trainings easy. So all of the industries we service and offerings are listed on the screen here. And if you guys want to learn more about us, please visit our website, asifood.com. So this is what we're going to cover today. We will start by understanding specific SQF training requirements in the code, what is mandatory, what auditors are looking for. We will also walk through how to develop your site-wide training plan that actually fits your facility, your workforce, your production schedule. We will also talk about conducting a training needs assessment, building competency-based programs, and critical importance of documentation. And we have also built in 2 interactive discussion questions here, because we want to hear from you about what are the challenges you guys are facing. And then we will wrap up with our best practices, resources available to you guys, and plenty of time for Q&A. So let's dive in. Let's start with why. Why does training matter so much? Here's the reality. Your workforce is your first line of defense in food safety. Not your just equipment, not your just technology, not even your HACCP plan, it's your people. So well-trained line operator can catch foreign material contamination before it leaves the line. Your trained maintenance technician knows how to use food grade lubricants. Your trained supervisor knows when to stop production, when to investigate. So training isn't just a checking box for your audit. It is a critical investment in protecting your consumers, of course, protecting your brand. As you all know, one recall can cost millions of dollars and destroy your consumer trust and obviously put people's lives at risk. So good training reduces your product defects and rework cost. It prevents contamination incidents, and it empowers your line operator, right, to identify problems, stop them before the crisis becomes they become crisis. So it creates accountability at every level. It builds confidence in your workforce, and of course, when people know what they're doing and why it matters, they take ownership in terms of food safety. As you all know, element SQF module 2, element 2.9 outlines our comprehensive training expectations in the SQF code, which talks about documented employee training program with the competency, methods, instructions available in relevant languages, refresher training requirements, training records, training and competency verification. So these requirements applies to everyone in your facility from production floor to the corporate. So let's break down who needs the training. The answer is very simple, everyone. But let's be specific. On production floor, we are talking about line operators, your packers, your machine operators, forklift drivers, material handlers, and yes, your temporary and seasonal workers as well. Okay, these are the people touching your product, operating your equipment, and making decisions every minute of the shift. Your support functions need training as well. Your maintenance technicians, sanitation crew, warehouse personnel, receiving and shipping staff. So think about it. Maintenance brings tools and parts to production areas. Sanitation crew is responsible for allergen cleaning, and warehouse staff handle finished products. So they all need to understand their role in terms of food safety. Then we have management. We have oversight supervisors. We have shifts leads who are verifying that training is being applied. QA teams, plant managers, and of course, senior leadership. So, and then we have visitors and your contractors. Sometimes, your boss might bring a team from overseas or maybe in-house, team from, hey, let's take a plant tour. We need to make sure they are trained before they show up on the facility, inside the production floor. They need to follow your GMP, of course, your policies. Outside maintenance, meaning third-party maintenance, you might contract with them. They need as well training. Some companies do have a third-party sanitation crew, which comes in, let's say, on the night shift to come and clean. Your third-party pest technician, they come maybe twice a month. They might come once a week, right? So they also need to know what is your GMP, what's your program, your procedures they need to follow before they show up, right? So the key message is every person who enters your facility plays a role in terms of food safety. That means every person needs appropriate training. Food safety culture doesn't exist just in one department. It has to permeate your entire organization. So what do people need to be trained? This is a very common questions that we also get when we're doing SQF trainings, that what training do I have to provide to my own employees, right, to my in-house facility. So let's talk about essential topics. GMP or good manufacturing practices are foundational. This is personal hygiene, proper hand washing techniques, your appropriate clothing, jewelry restrictions, reporting illness. So it seems basic, but it's very critical. Your HACCP principles, your team needs to understand CCPs or critical control points on their specific line. What are they monitoring? Why are they monitoring? What are the critical limits? What happens if something goes wrong? Allergen management, if you are dealing with allergens, it is huge, as you know, cross-contact prevention, proper changeover procedures, cleaning verification. So one mistake here can put someone in the hospital. Your equipment operation, proper use, cleaning and maintenance. How do you even properly disassemble and clean the fillers, right? What is your sanitary design? Are you considering your sanitary design when you're doing maintenance? Your sanitation procedures. both your pre-op and operational. Your sanitation crew needs to know more than just spray and wipe. They need to understand the concentrations of, right, of cleaning agent, of your sanitizer, how does it work. Food defense awareness, recognizing and reporting your suspicious activities. If your employees need to be your ear and eyes. And here, one we don't talk about enough is helping every employee understand their role in food safety. So how does that job do every day impact the final product? When they understand that connection, behavior changes. So finally, reporting and your communication. When do you escalate a concern? What do you tell? Who do you tell? And how do you document it, right? Documentation is something that most of us struggle. Issues does happen. We talk about verbally, but we never really document, right? So that is another thing that how do we document? We need to teach our employees what are the forms if they're available, right? Or who do they reach when they have to report something. Let's talk about specifically about your SQF practitioner, because this role has unique requirements. As you know, elements 2114 and 2115 outline the qualifications. So your SQF practitioner must have HACCP training, right? And there are minimum requirements defined in the code's glossary also, right? They need a solid understanding of your SQF code and how to implement it, and they need experience in food safety management, right? So SQF, I strongly recommend implementing SQF system course, which are available through all licensed training centers. ASI Kiva is a licensed training center as well. And this is a comprehensive course that walks through you implementing and maintaining your SQF system. Here's why this matters, because your SQF practitioner is your pretty much your go-to resource, right, for food safety questions. So if this person need to be highly trained, highly competent, and empowered to make decisions. So invest in this person's training and development and give them the tools and authority that they need to succeed. Certain roles in your facility require specialized training beyond the basics. So there's another one where we're going to dive into. Internal auditors need training in audit procedures and effective questioning techniques. They need to understand the SQF code requirements thoroughly. They can't just audit what they don't understand, right? So they need to understand why they're doing the audit, what information they're going to gather, how to do even report writing, and what is the purpose of internal audits, right? How is it really helping your facility, your site, and what benefits are you getting from internal audits? Remember, it's not a fault finding, it's a fact finding exercise, right? Then is a crisis management team needs training through mock recalls, exercises, and business continuity planning. So hope is not a strategy. You need to practice these scenarios before they happen. In the years of training, one company mentioned that on Friday, 5 p.m., they had a crisis situation. Everybody was planning to go home already by that time, and nobody was really ready to do this on Friday, 5 p.m. or imagine on Saturday, for example. So again, that's why I think mock recalls does help us a lot, right? We need to practice these scenarios before they happen, so it's much more calm and we can work in a team. Maintenance personnel need specialized training on food grade lubricants and materials. They need to know what is the difference between food grade, non-food grade lubricants, right? Where they can use it, how they store it, where they store it, sanitary design principles, and of course lockout, tag out procedures for the safety of your employees as well. And maintenance can be a major source of contamination if not done correctly. They should pick up their tools, right, when they are done with the job. They need to inform probably sanitation and QA or production, like, hey, we are done. So these appropriate departments can step in and they do the right thing. And which sanitation, right? Sanitation crew needs training on chemical safety, proper dilution, follow your master sanitation schedule. The schedule is typically done there, but the problem is nobody's really, sometimes they're not following it. Allergen cleaning verification. So sanitation is one of the most critical food safety functions, I'm sure, as you all know. So we need more specific training to the sanitation crew. And of course, please don't forget your contract workers, your temporary staff. Just because they are not your regular employees doesn't mean they don't need training. GMPs, facility-specific food safety rules apply to everyone, including them. SQF code is very clear that these specialized roles require, specialized training. So make sure you guys are addressing these needs. I cannot stress enough, especially temporary staff, agency staff, right? Or sometimes you might have uh, for a certain period, let's say 3 months only, 4 months only, right? Even they are working only for 3 months, because let's say during harvest, they are only working from August till December. We still have to treat them as just like one of your employees, and we need to provide them the training, um, just like your regular employee, because again, they could be the reason why you have contamination or other issues at your site. So how do you actually build a training program? Step one is conducting a training needs assessment. This is where you evaluate what you have identified the gap. So start by looking at training need by role, right? Training needs. What does a line operator need to know versus maintenance technician versus a supervisor, right? Don't make the mistake of one size fit all training. Look at by your shift also. Are your night shift employees getting the same training as the day shift? Often they are not, and that's the gap auditors will find. Evaluate your by language. Walk your production floor. What languages you hear? Do your training material match your workforce, right? So consider experience level as well. A new hire needs different training than someone who's been with you guys for more than 10 years, right? But don't assume veterans know everything. They might have learned workarounds. They aren't even food safe, right? So review your audit findings. What issues keep coming up? Those are your training opportunities. And finally, look at your production changes. Every time you bring in new equipment, launch a new product, change a process, this is where you have to do the training. So this assessment doesn't have to be very complicated, but it does need to be thorough. Walk the floor, talk to your supervisors, review your records, and be honest about where the gaps are. Step two is, once you know your needs, you're going to develop your tailored training plan. And I want to emphasize here tailored, because this has to work for your own environment, right? So let's talk about new hire training first. So day one should be, which we typically orientation, right? They're busy with the HR, they're understanding the facility safety, GMP, tour, so they understand the flow of your operations. Then move into the job specific training with the hands-on demonstration, not just by watching a video, but actually doing a task with a trainer besides them. Shadowing experienced employees is incredibly valuable, right? Because but make sure you're pairing them with someone who does it the right way. This is where I have noticed all my years in the food industry that day one, yay, with the HR, day two, they are with the supervisor, and day three, they are on their own. And sometimes they're just learning from the others, and that's not again, remember, just ticking a box or signing on a training log doesn't mean they are fully trained, right? So this is why the critical part, competency verification before they work independently, comes in. Don't just assume they're ready. Verify it, and you can verify it obviously by asking them, could you please show me, right? Demonstrate. For example, hey, how does this metal detector function, for example, right? So you're asking questions from that job, around that job, so you get in pretty good idea, okay, they understand now, right? Rather than just signing off on a log and they are ready to go, and 1 month later they are like, I don't know when I was trained, right? So for ongoing training, use what works in your manufacturing environment, of course, storage and distribution, also packaging. Pre-shift meetings, toolbox talks are perfect for reinforcing your key concepts. So annual refreshers, I'm sure you all do annual refreshers on the GMPs and food safety, keep skills sharp. Just in time training when they're making a process or product change, ensure everyone is prepared. And of course, my favorite is cross training, builds flexibility in your workforce while reinforcing your food safety principles. The key is to make this training fit to your operation and not just disrupting your operation, right? So short, frequent, practical training sessions work better than a long classroom days that take people off the floor. And again, in my experience, I think when you're having somebody sit for 8 hours or 6 hours, half of the time their attention is probably max 10 minutes, max 30 minutes. I think after that the brain just shuts off. So sometime topic of a month, or every Monday you guys can come up in it small topics. Hey, today we're going to review GMP, or today we're going to do hand washing. It does sound very simple. I'm sure you all have experienced once in a while that employees are still bypassing hand washing, even though they know they must wash their hands before going to production. So I think small topics does go long rather than having them sitting for all day, and and they're mentally not there, physically there, and I think it doesn't really help anybody. Also, let's talk about the competencies. I know we talk about competency throughout the code also, but what does that even mean when it comes to training? Where a lot of facilities struggle here, where exactly each role needs to be able to do. So for line operator, they need to be able to recognize product defects in foreign material. Can they spot a metal fragment, for example, right? Do they know what an allergen cross contact look like? What they need to execute proper startup and shutdown procedures. So they're often where contamination happens. So they need to know how to monitor, for example, CCPs, right? And critically, they need to know when to stop the line. So do they have the authority and confidence to do that? Supervisors have a different set of competencies. They need to verify operator competency. How do they know someone is ready to work alone? They need to respond to deviations and non-conformities effectively. So they need to conduct effective pre-shift meetings that actually reinforce food safety, not just go through the motion. And they need to reinforce GMPs, food safety culture every single day. So managers need to ensure adequate training resources are available. They monitor training effectiveness. Is it actually working? They support continuous improvement. And most importantly, they lead by example. If manager doesn't follow the GMP, why would anyone else? And I am sure you have seen throughout your career, Christy is also smiling, so I'm sure that managers sometime, or upper management, senior management, feels like GMP doesn't apply to them, yet everyone has to follow the GMP, right? So here's the principle to remember: competency equals knowledge plus skills plus ability on the production floor. And all three components are very, very necessary. So again, it starts from our senior management, but at each level, whether it's a line operator, floor level, whether it's a supervisor, manager, you should be able to figure out what does that competency mean, what it looks like, and we need to design our, again, in-house training to make sure it fits, at each level. Now, what are the effective ways of training delivery, right? Initial training has three components, which is you are doing a new hire orientation, which we talk about, cover food safety, GMPs, your specific, facility related. Then job specific training is hands-on, where practice with your actual equipment, the tasks they will be doing, and verification before independent work. Observe them, test them, make sure they actually do it before they're on their own. I have met many companies and they said we have actually a week program where they have to be supervised at least for a week before we tell them to be on their own. You may have 2 weeks, depending on your, of course, their position. You guys come up with a timeline, make sure you guys are following, and before that you do a verification, which will give you the confidence of think they're ready to go on their own, rather than just having a 1 day, half day, and then you just leave them. That's obviously not going to help, right? Ongoing training keeps your skills sharp. So pre-shift meetings, safety topic of the month, it could be food safety topic. Again, in my experience, we used to do like every Monday, 5 minutes before the shift starts, we will do a food safety topic of the week. So you can do weekly, you can do monthly also, where you just not really taking a heavy topic, but something very small is you're refreshing, right? Refreshing your employees every at the start of the shift to reinforce a key topic. Like I said, hand washing, everybody knows, but somehow once in a while you will see somebody bypassing hand washing, right? So annual refresher training on the GMP's food safety is a minimum requirement. That doesn't mean you guys cannot do it more often. Like I said, every month, every 6 months, every even week, if that allows you. So training on your process or product changes need to happen before the change, not after. And then, of course, cross-training opportunities not only build flexibility, but also reinforce the why behind your procedures. And for verification, direct observations, of course, on the floor is a gold standard. Watch them do the task, written demonstrations. Show me how you would handle this situation, right? Written on verbal knowledge check for the GMP and food safety concept. And of course, supervisor signing off on the competency, and that is documented and dated, right? The biggest mistake I see in facilities is that they do training, but they never verify it actually worked. So please don't make that mistake. Like I said, signing up on a log doesn't, it looks good for the auditors that yes, we have trained our employees, but in reality, what did they learn from that training? Is it even going anywhere? Is it even implemented and it's actually working, right? So please make sure you do verification after the fact when you did the training. Training in appropriate languages is a really big, absolutely critical, because instructions must be available in languages understood by your workforce, right? So I can be very blunt. If you are a multilingual production floor and you're only training in English, you're setting up yourself up for failure and putting consumers and at risk. Majority of my work experience is from California. We always had a Hispanic population working, which is, of course, Spanish is their first language. Um, uh, and the we never did the training in English. We always try to translate our procedures and even on our forms in Spanish, because it was much easier for our employees to follow. And that is what this is what we are trying to mention here. There are practical solutions that work at your site. Translate your key documents, your job aids, focus on the critical ones. For example, allergen, CCP monitoring, cleaning procedure, right? Pictures. Use your visual SOPs with your pictures and minimal text. A picture of proper hand washing technique works in any language, right? So provide bilingual trainers or interpreters. If you can't do this full time, bring them for critical training sessions. So I remember when I was working in the manufacturing, I had requested, could we have a Spanish trainer, a bilingual trainer, because majority of our employees are Spanish speakers. So we would like to have a Spanish instructor. So we had a full day session with the Spanish instructor, because it does make sense to understand in the same language where they're comfortable. Post multilingual signage throughout your facility. For example, hand washing, right? Allergen control zone, your CCPs, critical control points. You guys can use video-based trainings with subtitles. You guys can record it once, use it repeatedly, right? So confirm understanding through your demonstration, not just by verbal response. Have them show you, not just tell you what they understand. And leverage technology. Of course, translation apps right now, AI. Christina, I was just talking about AI a minute ago. So translation apps can help you with quick and on-spot communications. And here's the bottom line. Understanding is critical. So language barriers can and do lead to food safety failure. This isn't an optional, this is an essential. This is a poll question for us. What is the biggest training challenge you guys face at your facility? Is it a language barrier, high turnover, shift coverage, or something else? So please take a moment and take a poll for us. All right, poll results are back, and I'm seeing it says high turnover. Okay, the first one, and then it says something else. Can you guys write in the chat box maybe what is that something else that you guys feel like was the biggest challenge? Of course, high turnover right now, especially when you're working in an environment which requires seasonal operations. Culture, okay, very good. Culture is the issue why we are feeling that. Very good. Lack of process, getting people to care, tracking our training, creating, updating our trainings. Okay. Seasonal employees, so sort of turnaround related. Yes, I have dealt with seasonal employees. They are there for 1 week and they're gone. next week, and then you got to start over with the new employee. So that is something that I think industry fail over a lot, especially when you are dealing with the temporary employee agency employees. um, Immature training program culture is another one again. Supervisors not leading by example, getting people to follow GMPs. One day temp employee, yep. Updating training, everyone does something different. Job, small businesses, leadership support. So thanks for sharing again. These are the real challenges, and I want you to know that you are not alone. Many facilities, pretty much they are facing pretty much the same issues, and let's keep these in mind as we continue through the presentation, because some of the solutions we'll discuss might address exactly what you're facing. So let's move on with thank you again for the poll. Training records and documentation. Because if it is not documented, it didn't happen. I'm sure you guys have heard this over and over. This is especially true during your audits. So here's what you need to maintain. A training program outline that includes your competency required for each role and the method you will use to train and verify. So attendance records, and these need to include who was trained, right? What they were trained on, when did it happen, trainer's signature, and of course your competency verification results. Not just they attended the training, but they actually can perform the task, right? So training skill register for all employees showing what trainings they have completed. Refresher training schedule, completion records. You guys can of course make an Excel matrix also, right? Training matrix with all the topics and list of your employees. And of course training effectiveness evaluation. So some best practices are keep records for the duration of the employment versus plus your retention period. Use electronic systems. If you have LMS systems for easier tracking, they can of course send you automatic reminders when refresher training is due. Make records accessible for your audits. You don't have to be scrambling of course during an audit to find the records. Update your skill register whenever employees change role. I know documentation can feel like a burden. We've been there and done there, but it serves two purposes. One, it proves compliance during the audits, as you all know, and the two is very important. It helps you to manage your training program. So you can see at a glance who needs refresher training, who's qualified for specific task, and where you have the gaps. So I think if you keep that register, or maybe it could be an Excel sheet or matrix, that will also help you. And of course, your documentation will help you as well. Verifying training effectiveness. How do you know training actually worked? There are many methods that work on your floor. Direct observation, actually watch the employee perform the task correctly in the real world work conditions. Practice demonstrations. Show me how would you handle a CCP deviation, right? Verbal knowledge check. Ask questions while they're doing the task to confirm they understand why and not just how. Written quizzes, I'm sure many facilities do have written quizzes for GMP. They do a food safety knowledge checks. Supervisors sign off with the documented verification of competency. What should you verify? Can they perform the task correctly and safely, right? So do they understand why it's important? Not just the procedure, but the food safety reason behind it. Can they identify when something is wrong? And do they know when to notify when there is a problem? So here's a critical point I want to emphasize. Attendance at training does not equal competency. As like I mentioned, just because you are right there physically doesn't mean they're listening, they're actively paying attention, right? So again, attendance at training doesn't equal competency. I can't tell how many facilities I've seen have a perfect attendance records, but they just can't demonstrate anyone can actually do the job correctly. So don't fall into that trap, please. Verify, which is the last thing. And we kind of like right after training, we get the training logs, we put in our binders and bye-bye. So do the verification, whether it's a week later, a day later. And I used to do this trick. After the trainings, I will randomly go on the floor, ask random questions, and pretty much, just like, hey, how you doing? Why you're filling this form? Like, what is this, right? What does it even mean? So they understand why I'm filling the form, and not just because supervisor gave me to fill the form, I'm just filling the form and that's it. So they need to know why they're filling the form, what food safety impact it might have, right? That's the level of training you guys need to go, not just the surface level. There's another discussion question we have. How do you verify the training is actually working? And what methods have you found most effective for confirming your team really gets it? So if you guys want to write in a chat box, that'll be great. How do you measure your competency? And how do your supervisor even know when someone is ready to work independently? What role do line operators play in training? Audit, okay. So you're saying you measure, okay, on the job verification, having having the demonstrate the task or skill. I will have one quiz, site observation, quiz discussion with employee, internal audit. Okay, so most of you guys are saying demonstrations, right? Meeting every Friday. Okay, we have program. All right, great. So you do measure competency. And again, how do also I want to throw it here, how do your supervisor know when someone is ready to work? And what role do line operators play in the peer training? All these things help a lot. Training, interviews, questions, of course, make the ask questions to make the group participate. 5-question quiz that goes over critical information, direct observation. So that is actually a great way to verify that training is actually effective and it's working. Training's role in food safety culture. As we know, food safety culture has been a huge topic, and food safety culture is something that we are all working every day. We work towards culture. So what role training is playing in terms of that culture? What does good training create, right? It creates a line operator who feel empowered to stop production when they see a problem, not afraid, not hesitant, right, but confident when they have the authority and responsibility to act. It creates supervisors who coach and reinforce rather than just correcting the mistakes, right? So it creates managers who prioritize food safety over production pressure, even when there is a hard decision. And it creates a team that takes pride in producing safe, quality food. So, what are the signs of a strong food safety culture? Employees reporting issues without fear of punishment, right? They know that reporting a problem is a good thing, not something that they will get them in trouble, right? Food safety is a part of every conversation, not just quality meetings. Everyone from senior management to new hire follow the same rules, no exceptions, no shortcuts, and continuous improvement is obviously expected and celebrated, right? So here's what I want you guys to remember, that training doesn't create culture alone. Culture requires leadership, commitment, system, accountability. But you absolutely cannot have a strong culture without effective training. So it is the foundation. Training builds the awareness. Training creates the ownership, and it establishes accountability at all levels of your organization. So training does play a major role in terms of your food safety culture. Common training pitfalls to avoid. So learn from other mistakes so you don't have to make them yourself. Watch and learn without verification. This is not a training strategy. Hope is not a training strategy. So you need a structured training with verification, right? Training only in English on a multilingual floor. So I cannot emphasize again this enough, that this is a recipe for a misunderstanding and a disaster. It did had happened with me when I was working in the manufacturing. Our employees were bilingual, or the trainer was not bilingual. He was just translating, and the translation got misunderstood and it didn't work out. And when I was doing internal audit, we had many gaps. Not just employees knew how to do the job, but I think the trainer wasn't really clear enough, and he wasn't using the appropriate tool to translate and make sure that Spanish employees does understand in Spanish and not in English. And we had a huge gap right there. One-time training with no refresher. So people forget. Of course, we all forget. Process changes. You guys can't assume that you gave me a training in a year ago or 6 months ago and I will still remember it, right? That's why I think continuous reminders are great. Again, topic of the month will be a great way to remind our employees. Visuals, of course, right? Pictures does play a major role also in that. Skills decays without practices and reinforcement. So annual refreshers are the minimum. Classroom only training You guys can need trainings on hands-on. You can't train, you can't learn to clean a filler by watching a PowerPoint. So once they go through that, maybe do a hands-on training, go to the floor, and treating all employees the same. A new hire needs different training than a 20-year-old veteran, right? A line operator needs different training than a supervisor. So tailor your approach, please. Make, what that means is basically understand your audience and change it, right? Do not just think like, oh, this presentation will work at every level. No documentation. If it's not written down, it didn't happen. So this will come back to you, bite to you during an audit. So please make sure you do document. And here's a big one: focusing on compliance instead of competency. Again, check the box training doesn't change behavior. You need training that actually build the skills and change how people work. And if you're making any of these mistakes, now it's time to fix them. So what are the best practices for success? Make training practical and hands-on. Train on the, again, actual equipment. Use the real examples, practice scenarios. Leverage your experienced employees. Pair new hire with the strong performers. Create training and mentor program. Recognize teaching excellence. Use short and frequent training sessions. 10-15-minute pre-shift meetings. Monthly safety talk. Quick refreshers during your changeovers. Engage all level of management. So your senior leadership participate, lead training, make training a leadership expectation, and of course, celebrate milestones, continuously improvement, review training after incidents, ask employees what would help, update when your process changes, and please treat your employees the same. Again, we are all adults. We are different, we have different ways of learning. And please keep in mind your cultural differences can also make a big impact, right? So you need to change your approach, how you are training somebody from different culture, and make sure that we are treating them the same with respect, right? As you know, different cultures are working. They come up, they may have habits, right? So we have to change the habits to fit your culture. And that's how we have to treat our employees with respect and make sure we respect their culture. And training plays a major role there. Of course, HR is involved. You guys are involved in that. We have training resources. SQFI licensed training centers are there. We, for example, such as Kiva ASI, we are also a training center. We do in-person training, virtual courses offered by us. Then there are SQF guidance documents available, which are free training available at sqfi.com website. Then there's implementing SQF training courses, essential SQF for SQF practitioners and QA team. And there are specialized modules also available on food defense, food fraud, internal audits. There's a QR code that Christy has mentioned with the SQF. So if you use that, you will see all this information available to you guys. So what are the key takeaways for your facility? As we wrap up, let's review the key takeaways I want you guys to remember. Training is everyone's job, not just the QA or the food safety department. So please make sure that from the floor to the executive office, it's not just quality department responsibility. Everyone has a role. Hands-on practical training work best in your environment. Get people on the floor, on the equipment, doing the actual task. Language accessibility is not optional. It is critical for your food safety. So if your workforce doesn't understand the training is worthless, right? Focus on competency, not just the attendance. Verify that employees can actually do the job, not just they sat through the class. Documentation, prove your compliance. So maintain thorough training records, make them easily accessible. Make trainings ongoing. Refresher training, keep skills sharp and standards high. So this is not just one and done. And finally, build culture through the training. Empower your employees who understand their role in food safety and which are your best assets. So before we move on to QA, let me leave with this thought. Training is an investment, not an expense. I'm sure everybody, from time to time, we get this kind of hurdle that, oh, we don't have budget for training, maybe later, maybe in Q2, maybe in Q4. But the cost of poor training can result into recalls, injuries, lost production, your damaged reputation, right? Your brand reputation. which is far exceeds the cost of doing it right. We're going to have a Q&A also in a second. And before we go there, thank you all for participating today with us. For more resources and information, please visit our website, asifood.com. If you have follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Also, if you guys have 2 minutes to spare, please take our poll. If you scan our QR code, this is about few questions about your experience with training and SQF certification. So if you guys use your phone's camera, and if you scan our QR code, that will be great. And also I want to mention one more thing. We are doing our upcoming free webinars, which are focused on SQF updates. And if you guys are interested in learning more, please visit our website, or you guys can also scan this QR code. There are 6 webinars happening this year, and one of the webinar was this one. And if you attend 2 and 4 or entire, you will get 30%, 50% off throughout our courses. So please do visit us. And also stay safe, keep building that food safety culture. We will also see you at SQF Unites. We are going to be at booth 14, so please stop by booth 14. We're also sponsoring happy hour on Wednesday evening, so we are really hoping to meet you guys there in SQF Unites 2026. So Christy?
Yeah, I'll just do this last slide and then we'll start taking your questions. And thank you for putting your questions in the chat. I'll do this slide real fast. So if less than 3 weeks away, it's less than 2 weeks away, as a matter of fact. So I hope that you will be joining at SQF Unites. I saw one question already about edition 10. We will not be diving into edition 10 here, but we will be diving into edition 10 at SQF Unites. So every session is designed to address those changes that you're going to see in edition 10. We'll be in St. Louis at the beautiful Union Station Hotel. So look at that picture in the center. The hotel is the former Union Station, and it's just this majestic hotel. We already have over 700 people registered, and lots of resources and lots of opportunities to learn from each other. So anyway, please, please, please come join us. There is the link right there, and you can find it on our website. Okay, and the session agenda is on the website. So one of the topics I'm going to be talking about, that session that I am hosting, is about the implementation of SQF Edition 10. So anyway, I can go on forever, but I do want to thank, and I'm going to give you a little clappy clap. There we go. I'm going to give Harmeet, thank you,
Thank you
so much. I saw a little clappy claps and thumbs up and hearts. Harmeet, what a great session. So if you don't know, I introduced myself and I gave you my title, but I didn't really tell the audience what I do. I'm responsible for the SQF training programs. And Harmeet did, I was taking notes like crazy. You can't see. Such a good session, such a good session. You like hit the nail on the head on everything, Harmeet. So many, you know what, go ahead and go to the Q&A slide, or I guess we can leave this up here. I'm just going to say, right from the very first slide, like, to me, I wrote down what you said, and I'm like, everything goes back to that. And that your, where did it go? Your employees are your first line of defense. And they are, you can have the best food safety plan.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not have the support, the execution by the employees, all is for naught, right? And I loved that statement from the start, Harmeet, is that your employees are your first line of defense. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, employees are working all day there. They understand the machines, they understand the flow, right? I think, especially when you talk to the employees who are very close to the machine, if there's a small change, a small slight change in the machine, even, just the audio, they know something's wrong, right? So I think employees, especially floor level employees, we tend to not to engage them much, and I think information stays with supervisor level or lead level. But the minute you go to the floor level, I think they are the first line of defense in terms of they will tell you, hey, something is off, something is wrong, right? So the more empowerment we give them, the more opportunities will arise, and they will open, and they will share their what are the issues going on, or how can we even improve things, right? So I think when we talk about empowerment, when employees, I always give this example. In many companies, only QA can put product on hold. And in the second shift and the third shift, we don't have active QA there. So that means who is going to put on hold? I think that if you talk about culture, why don't you just give everybody, hey, anybody can put on hold? Yeah. Right. So that is empowering our employees so that, hey, so they understand, hey, if something is wrong, if something's off, they can put on product on hold. And when first shift comes in, they can dig into that. They can look into that, right? That is also creating a positive culture where we are not holding employees for doing something when they know something is off, right? Or wrong in that manner. Non-conforming product, right? So I think that's why it starts with the employees, it ends with the employees. Employees plays a major role here. And if we don't pay attention, give them the right resources, you can have a great HACCP plan, and you can have all this documentation looking good, and you are passing the, again, I think the intention is not to just pass the audit with flying colors. The intention is here, how are we improving? How are we, what kind of culture we have, right? And how can we make it better?
Yeah, I absolutely love that statement, because that's your justification for finding the time and the money to support training, right? The food safety plan is not just a document. It has to be executed by the employees. And if they're not doing it correctly, then it's just a futile effort. So to me, that right off the, and empowering those employees through your food safety culture to take ownership in the safety of the product is such a good thing. Looking at so one of the things that I think is so significant, so there were some questions in the chat about documentation of training. And yes, the documentation is important. So 2.9.2.3 outlines what needs to be in that document. But there's one important thing there that you talked a lot about, Harmeet, and that is the verification of the competency. Yes, you can write this in a record. This can be a record, but it is, the training isn't done unless the individual is competent. So tell me a little bit more about that, and what are you expecting to see in a training record of let's say there is an official a date on a calendar, a training event. How do you want to see that in a training record, in your training log?
So in the training log, as you know, we typically have list of participants, their name, their signature, who did the class, date, or sometimes people have time also. And then of course, what is the topic or the skills, right? So that's a typical log that we have in the training. But verification of a competency, what I have done in the past, I had a separate quiz designed for the competency alone. And it's basically a verbal quiz written, and then also on the job observation, meaning going with them on the floor and doing an observation. And then I'm signing off, okay, they're competent, meaning that's how you verify the competency. Or if you don't have a quiz, verbal, right? For example, Christy, so what did you learn from this, right? How do you do this again? Why are you doing this? So that also gives you, I always say, it's a knowledge assessment, right? You go out there, you're basically checking, does your employee even understand why they're doing things? And if they are able to demonstrate, you can have a log, say, you know what, that such and such person is competent in this, at this position, at this job, right? So I think there are many ways to documenting it. It's up to how you guys feel. You want to do it on the log or a separate log. Like I said, I did a just the sanitation crew separate competency test or check,
Okay.
because sanitation department needs separate than what I have in the, for example, maintenance department. So
Right.
my questions are
Right.
designed towards what is a sanitation, what is the, why do we have to check the concentration of a sanitizer, for example, right? How long do we have to keep sanitizer on the lines on a product contact surface, right? Is it a 10-minute, is it a 15-minute, right? Where are the SGS? So I think my competency exams or my questions were designed per department, looking at their skills and what they have done, and then I said, okay, you know what, yes, they are competent. Another example I can give you, my CCP was metal detector. So metal detector operator, I'm asking questions. If metal detector doesn't function, what would you do if it fails the test, right? Right. And if they're saying, I'm going to stop the line, I'm going to tell my supervisor, that's more than enough. But at least they know we're going to stop the line, right? And not just
Yeah.
continuously keep going. And after the fact, oops, all right, guys, we have to keep it. I don't know how much, I mean, pounds of product on hold, right? For that.
Right.
So I think if you want to make it easy, but try to be smart also, look at your audience, look at their level, right, of information, provide that, and then design your questions per their, as per their job requirements and the jobs that they're doing. It's not, again, all fit scenario. You just can't give same quiz to everybody, and they probably don't even deal with that, right?
Right. I think there's so much tied up into the documentation of the training events that we lose sight of the goal of training. And the training is to establish competency. So I just wanted to share something. So large part of my job is doing the auditor training. So training the individuals that will be the certification auditors. There is something that we teach them over and over again, and we do also use this in the site training. The auditor uses three means to collect objective evidence. So to verify training, they're going to be looking for records, they're going to be conducting interviews, and they're going to be making observations. Don't get hung up on the record. You still have two more things that you need to do, and that is records. You've got your training log. You need to be sure that your line employees, all your employees, are able to, what Harmeet was just talking about, describe their job, explain what they do relative to their role. And the other thing the auditor is going to do is observe your employees. You said you did this training, and you may even said that they were competent. Somebody signed off on it, but the auditor is going to observe. This is the SOP. This is what you say they're supposed to do. They're not doing this. So where's the gap? So just keep that in mind. Don't get hung up on the records, because you need to make sure that they are competent. So signing off on a record is not establishing competency. It does not put the rubber stamp that the training is complete.
I also want to mention something to this, Christy, that please do not do this mistake. Do not let your HR do food safety training, sanitation training.
Right.
That is not the right department for doing this training. And I have seen many companies, they have this, big room, and the HR is teaching them sanitation. And I'm like, where is the subject matter experts here? And they are not in terms of especially sanitation. You're dealing with the allergens. So please make sure your department, right, the supervisor management is actually involved in the training, and HR is not the suitable department for specific that topic, right? So of course you guys can divide by topic, what is HR okay to be doing and HR should not be doing. So that will also make a difference. Who is provider, right? Is provider, meaning trainer is competent, right? Yeah, they can be competent in their own subjects, but that doesn't mean they're competent or they're experts, subject matter experts in sanitation, for example, right?
Well, that's a very good point. Are the trainers properly trained? If you need them to train on X, Y, and Z, make sure that you've trained them on X, Y, and Z. It's kind of an interesting catch-22. Are the trainers properly trained? So I mean, sure, You could have them do the sanitation, or you could have the, you could have them come in and do the same, but are they properly trained to show it? Um, uh, it is an interesting catch-22. Just make sure they are competent. Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
especially environmental monitoring program, for example. I'll give another one. If your technician doesn't know how to handle the swabs, no wonder you're getting negative or probably positive all the time, because the way they're handling the swabs. And
Yes,
it that
yes.
happened to me right in front of me. And I questioned the site right away. I said, "Is he trained?" And they said, "No."
Then why is he doing it? Yeah, exactly. And
Right.
and doing that swab, that you can do an on the job kind of quick training showing them how to do that. Well, maybe before they give them the swab, and now you're wasting that swab. So
That's right.
yeah.
So,
Well, we are right at the top of the hour. I could talk training all day, every day. I do see that there were a number of questions that came in. You can reach out to Harmeet. You can reach out to me. So if you don't know how to spell Christy Grzybinski, you can always use training at sqfi.com, and we can address your questions or pass them on to whoever's most appropriate. Yeah,
hmm,
I should have put my training there. Put yours back up there, Harmeet, though, because
okay.
you're the star of the show and you did such a good
Oh,
presentation.
thank you.
Thanks for putting that in there. Koo put it in the chat there.
Yeah.
Training at sqfi.com. I just want to thank you one more time, Harmeet, for an excellent presentation. I want to thank all of you for joining and attending, and hopefully we will see you at SQF Unites. Otherwise, keep on keeping on. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Ku. And thank you, SQF, for giving this opportunity, guys. So, again, looking forward to see you guys in San Luis, Missouri next month at SQFI Unite conference. Please reach us out. And again, please don't forget to visit our website for our webinar series happening. It's all free and a bunch of great information coming to you guys. So, thank you again.